with Village Hotels. With 33 locations across the UK, visit villagehotels.com. It is almost semi-final time, where things are beautifully poised at the moment, as we'll have last year's Premier League runner-up Luke Humphries in action first against the man who dispatched of the reigning Premier League champion Luke Littler in Gerwyn Price. Both put in really, really strong performances in their openers this evening, and that semi-final will then be followed by Nathan Aspinall, who'll go head-to-head with mighty Michael van Gerwen, who has just taken out a 90 finish on the bull, average just shy of a ton, with 55% checkout success to get the better of Chris Dobey. Scott Mitchell alongside me for the first semi-final, and Scott, we're just going to reflect a little bit on what we've seen so far tonight, starting with the players in the second semi-final. Nathan Aspinall, pointless after 2 weeks. He was certainly given a helping hand to get over the line, to get off the mark. Rob Cross just 3 from 22 on the outer ring. The Asp himself only averaging in the mid-80s in that contest, but sometimes that is all it takes to spark you into some kind of form in a tournament, isn't it?
It can be, it can be an Achilles heel getting that first win. Most players, if you go to a world champion, any TV tournament, the nervousness of the walk-on, that's all done. Then you want to get up there and hit your first treble 20 as quick as you can, your first double as quick as you can, your first leg as quick as you can, and your first win in the tournament as quick as you can. And Nathan's had to wait 3 weeks for that. Bunting is still waiting for a win in the tournament. You can say he's been a little bit unlucky again in the run of games that he's had. But for Aspinall to now be in a semi-final where he's probably thinking he shouldn't be there anyway because he didn't play particularly well. It was more about what Rob Cross didn't do than what Aspinall did do, and it was one of those games where you look at the guy and go, sorry mate, I had to beat you.
Yeah, when it comes to the Asp, what are you expecting from him now in this semi-final? Because I have to say, after his quarter-final victory over Rob Cross, I've looked happier when I've had a stomach bug than he did after he'd won that match. So, it is still quite exhausting, isn't it, when you go through a contest like that and absolutely nothing is coming for you. An 85 average in that one. What do you expect him to do when he takes on mighty Michael van Gerwen?
Well, one or two things could happen. Now he's won a game, he could absolutely come flying out of the traps thinking, I haven't got a hope here against van Gerwen. So he could end up throwing with a bit of freedom. That would see him come out the traps and be really happy to be in the game. Another thing that could happen, he could come out and stay dead in the doldrums and go, do you know what, I didn't deserve that last one, how am I going to get near him? So his mental state might not be right for this second game. It's one or two things that's going to happen, and I'm really interested to see whether he's going to absolutely fly and go, this was an opportunity that I shouldn't have really had, I need to take advantage of this, or he's going to go, well, I shouldn't really be here and be down in the dumps. It'll be one of those two things, I think.
And when it comes to Rob Cross, 13% checkout success. It's just not something we really see at this level, is it? The inconsistency that's in his game right now, what do you put that down to? Because he told me at the start of this tournament, at the back end of last year, he'd been making changes to the way he prepares for tournaments. He's turning up at venues quite a bit later, and that's quite noticeably impacting things in a positive way, he said. So what do you put this inconsistency down to at the moment?
I think it's very difficult to say, but I think that this kind of stems from last week, where he had a really golden opportunity against Luke Littler, and he was 5-4 and missed chances to win that 6-4 comfortably. He was 5-2 up in the game, and Littler just kept creeping back, and Cross was making mistakes. He missed the 61 to win that 5-2. Then he went on and missed chances to win it 6-4. And I think that's in the head. I think he's rolled it over from last week and gone, I'm not going to do that again. And it's in his head. But what you do when you do that is put it to the forefront of your mind. And then you start throwing, going, I mustn't miss this. I mustn't miss this. And once you start throwing like that, you'll never hit it. You will never hit it.
Yeah, and 12 darts missed across those opening 2 legs, as you mentioned. He made a fist of overturning that 5-1 deficit, didn't he? But how much, as a player, how much of a crushing blow is it when you make a start like that, especially when you've given yourself so many opportunities. You know, how difficult is it to then put that to the back of your mind?
You sometimes, when you get that far in front against somebody like Luke Littler, you know, you're 5-2 up, you start looking at your family going, I've got this in the bag, you know, look at him. You start putting your hand in your pocket and looking at him. I've seen players do it. And then before you know it, you've lost concentration on what you're doing. You're not focusing on the board, you're focusing on everything else. And I think Rob's a little bit guilty of that sometimes. Rather than focus on what he's doing, he does look across at his management team an awful lot. Which is great when you're playing well and they're giving you the lift and they're giving you your mojo. That's great. But, you know, sometimes when you know you're doing things right, you don't kind of need to look to them. And I used to find that. I used to look to them when I was not winning, and I'd look at them and they'd go, no, you're playing great, everything's great, you're just not hitting anything. So they would reassure you, because sometimes when you're actually in the game, you don't realise what's going on. You're concentrating on your scoring and yourself so much. You don't realise whether it's you playing badly or your opponent playing really, really well. And sometimes you need to look at your management team and go, no, he's playing great, just hang in there, you'll get your chances.
Yeah, and it's really interesting, isn't it? Because the end of 2023, the level he was consistently producing was absolutely frightening. He believed he was on the cusp of winning another major title, and if it hadn't been for the brilliance of Luke Humphries, of course, in that Grand Slam final, then I think he probably would have been right. But as for Michael van Gerwen, who's going to be in that semi-final alongside Nathan Aspinall, I've actually tipped him to have a really solid year in 2025. No, he doesn't currently have a major to his name, and it did, of course, take him until September of 2024 to win his first ranking event of that year. But there was something in his performances at Ali Pali that just made me think there's a level in there again where he can just turn the screw when his opponents are producing brilliance against him. We saw it, the game that sticks out at Ali Pali is the game against Callan Ridge, of course. We saw it in the opening week of the Premier League in Belfast, where he was absolutely irresistible against Luke Littler. When it comes to Michael van Gerwen, do you think that extra 5% is there again? Because for a lot of 2024, it just felt like he was as likely to average in the mid-80s as he was over a ton, but slowly I feel like he's turning the screw again.
I would agree. Danter and I were speaking about, you know, is he now getting the balance between darts and home life right? We spoke about him sort of not actually going to some of the pro tours this week, which is kind of, he hasn't always done that in the way that he's done it. And I think that maybe he's trying to get the work-life balance correct. And I think, you know, happy at home and he's happy at work. And I think that's what he's trying to find. And he's finding that is the way back to the success that he had.
A question on that work-life balance then, because so many players who are involved in the Premier League have spoken about it to avoid burnout. And when it comes to someone now like Stephen Bunting, we're 3 weeks into the competition and he's still yet to pick up his first couple of points. When it comes to someone like him, I asked him, you know, how do you ensure you sustain the level that you are consistently producing at the start of 2025? Because he was absolutely mesmerising to watch in the opening few weeks. And he said, you know, you need to pick and choose, you need to make sure you're fresh for the Premier League. But can it almost have a flip effect? And might you actually need to change your mind now that things haven't gone according to plan? Might he need to go, oh, actually, I need to make sure I put more time in for the Players' Championship events to just get a few victories under my belt? Or would you just stick to what you've decided you're going to do from the outset?
Well, my fear for him is that the break after the Worlds to that first sort of cusp of events from the PDC at the end of January, with going to the World Series and what have you, and doing so well, he'd had such a lovely break and he was looking forward to getting back into it. He's been to all the Pro Tours now. He's been to, this is his third Premier League evening. He's kind of been to 2 World Series events. Are we now seeing it at the end of a sort of very busy 7 to 8 weeks? Where is he looking for a rest now? Is he needing a week off? Is he needing 3 or 4 days to just put the darts down next to the dartboard at home in his dart room and going, I need to do something different. I need to go and do things with the kids. I need to go and do something. Because we all know if you start to force an issue, it gets bigger. So sometimes it's best to leave it. Even if you're practicing at home and it doesn't go right in the first 10 minutes, put the damn darts down, go and have a cup of coffee, come back in 20 minutes time, try again. If it's not working, bad practice is terrible for you. Put the damn things down and do it tomorrow.
Well, Stephen Bunting will, of course, be back in action for week 4 of the Premier League, which is coming to you from Exeter. But as I'm sure you can hear in the background there, it is time for semi-final number 1. And it sees the Iceman, Gerwyn Price, who was really, really impressive in match 1, wasn't he? Taking on the world number 1, Luke Humphries. Let's just listen to this introduction. Luke Humphries, a smile on his face as he returns to the stage. Why wouldn't you when you were 6-4 victor in your opening match, a 103.5 average, 40% checkout success for the world number 1. A lot to like about the way he's performing at the moment. At the start of this cycle of Premier League events, he did say that this is the one he has bookmarked for 2025. Now that he's won, he wanted to be the first ever winner of the Windmill World Masters. Tick that one off the list. Now 7 majors in 15 months for Coolhand Luke Humphries. It really has been spellbinding. I mean, he did say, Scott, after winning week 1 in Belfast, he was asked the question about whether he's the best player in the world, whether it's Luke Littler. I firmly believe it is still Luke Humphries. Luke Humphries believes it is Luke Littler. Who do you think it is?
I think it's Luke Humphries.
Yeah.
I'm with you all the way. But I know why he's doing what he's doing. You defer that.
Yeah.
Let him have all the pressure, for goodness sake. These are questions. It's very difficult because us as pundits and commentators and interviewers have to ask the question, are you best in the world? Because that's what the fans want to hear. But as a player, you try to divert that. You go, I'm playing all right. You remain a little bit more humble than that. And I think that's what he does. I'm a big fan of Luke. I've known him for a long time. He played youth darts with my daughter when she was playing youth darts at Hampshire. And so we know him quite well. And he's taken everything that's been thrown at him in the last 18 months. With absolute honour and humbleness, and I think, how can you not like him? I go back to my time on the tour, and he took me out and we went to a steakhouse together and we had a chat, because obviously we'd known each other for so long when I first went over and had a throw on the tour, and he's just that guy. He really is. But there is a point when you're a world champion and what have you do get asked silly questions an awful lot, and sometimes when it's been asked for the 57th time, you do sometimes break, but he hasn't yet. And I just commend him for that. He's just a top person.
Yeah, what a phenomenal ambassador for our sport, Luke Humphries. And he kicks off semi-final number 1 with a 180, as you could hear our caller, Hugh Ware.
67.
Not quite the same start for Gerwyn Price, who strays into the 5 segment with his first 2 darts. Luke Humphries, 4 perfect, a wry smile as the first one, or the 4th one I should say, drops low of the treble 20 target.
Yeah, we have a Welsh commentator, a Welsh player and a Welsh referee going in this one.
What can I say? Cymru am beef.
Exactly right. I'll have fries with mine. Thank you.
96.
Yeah, Luke Humphries. It all pretty much started, didn't it? That's why playing 3 games in the same night as he looks to take this opening leg with a 1-2-6, it kind of comes easy to him now because he's used to playing and winning on the Euro Tour. That's where it all started, before the major wins started to roll in. It was Euro Tour success.
He's a proper stage player. That's what it is. It really gets him going up there, get him 6 foot off the floor and in front of a crowd like this, and he really wants to show him what he can do. And he gets frustrated when he can't do it. I know all players do, but Luke particularly doesn't. But he never lets it boil over the top.
Yeah, not enough to get Gerwyn Price going in the opening leg. He was stranded on 186 as Luke Humphries pinned the winning double. A really solid start from Cool Hand, pinning double 14 for a 14 dart start.
And as a player, when you've lost the ball up in the back room, there's an element of anger when you haven't. At this level, you've got to be winning the bull-ups to give yourself the best chance, and there can be a little hang-out about that. You come out to play and you go, I lost the bull-up, I shouldn't have lost the bull-up. It can come back to you when you walk out on the stage, and you mustn't allow that to happen.
Does it play on your mind more if the bull-up goes on for longer as well, and you've just been going at it and at it and at it for a little while?
It does, because what happens is if it goes for 6 or 7 throws at the bull, you probably had 2 chances to win it outright at that point, and then when you do lose it for the third, your brain explodes.
I have to say, Luke Humphries at the start of this contest is just looking so in control of every aspect of his game. He's down to 170. Price is on 160. First treble 20 in, second treble bullseye for a 170. And he got the line right, it was just the weight that was missing there. So Gerwyn Price now with a chance for the 160, gets the first treble, not the second. And gets a visit of a ton. So Cool Hand Luke Humphries to take a 2-0 lead, double 8 for a 25 checkout, and it's pinned.
So an early breaker throw for Humphries then. He goes 2-0 into the lead, and Gezi has got to go now. He cannot afford to let Humphries go 3-0 here. 57. And that's an opportunity. That's an opportunity. A non-treble visit there for Humphries in that first visit of leg 3. Gezi has to jump all over this, and he rightly does.
Yeah, as you said, Scott, the mood Luke Humphries is in at the moment. He doesn't look like he's going to pass up many opportunities. This just feels like the door is ajar. But Gerwyn Price switches from the 20 segment, having had no luck with his first 2 darts, get a treble 18. He's on 267. Luke Humphries, just that steely determination on his face.
It's lovely when you're in that bubble that Luke Humphries is in, where he is just so confident. He feels anything he looks at and he throws at will go in. And it's a lovely place to be. There's lots and lots of players will understand what I mean, and lots of players probably won't understand if they've never been in that position. It's a lovely place to be. The confidence is there. And look at this for confidence. Oh, the 170 goes. That's some breaker throw. And that's some sportsmanship from Luke Humphries. It's the 4th 170 of the Premier League. 1 to Dobey, 2 to Littler, and now 1 to Price. And what a moment to do it, to break through.
Yeah, Luke Humphries had missed the bull for one himself in the previous leg, but Gerwyn Price, absolutely superb, and it was needed as well, wasn't it? Because he had Luke Humphries breathing down his neck. Cool Hand on 144. But it's a 12 darter for Gerwyn Price, the best of this contest so far. But look at this from Humphries, straight back in the red bit. Now we've got a real tussle on our hands.
I was always told as a kid in the country, don't go and rattle the wasp nest. And I think Gerwyn Price has rattled the former world champion.
Well, this is rattling along at an absolutely glorious pace at the moment. You just get captivated by the darts that these two are producing. Another important treble from Gerwyn Price, using that 18 segment perfectly to leave himself on 70. And within seconds we could have a level game here, as now Luke Humphries rolls his eyes. He's left himself on a bogey number of 168. Gerwyn Price, a little bit of time on his side if he needs it. Tops the target for him for a 70 checkout. Tops is pinned.
We have ourselves a game now, Abby. We have ourselves a game. It's double stats are 2 from 2 for Price, 2 from 4 for Humphries. They are both superb stats. And we are still none the wiser.
98.
Yeah, Gerwyn Price drops a dart, as is customary with him. But he picks it back up a ton, and you can see the frustration etched on his face there. He needed more, he wanted more, because Cool Hand is unrelenting in his pursuit for yet another final in this year's Premier League. Hasn't failed to make one yet, of course. Won the first one, beat Chris Dobey, lost the second to Luke Littler. The 164 isn't going to go, but Price back on 220. Doesn't take as big a chunk out of that score as he'd have liked, but 104 when he returns for Humphries to re-establish the lead in this one. It has been absolutely absorbing so far, this contest, but can't go now this, so Gerwyn Price looking at Shanghai to break the throw of Humphries. He gets the treble, he needs single for tops. He's climbing that ladder, has to shuffle right across the oche to find a way through, and he does find a way through. Sucker punch after sucker punch from Gerwyn Price at the moment. He has won the last 3 legs of this contest. He's reeled in the big fish, a 120 and a 70 clinically taken out as well. This is absolutely remarkable.
It is indeed, and we can see on our pictures here that he hit that double top in exactly the same hole from exactly the same position as he did the 70 shot the leg before.
Yeah, and Humphries, of course, took a 2-0 lead in this one, was looking really good himself. He's not had a dart at double in the last 3 legs. That is how good Gerwyn Price has been. Yes, he's been there or thereabouts, but Price, whether it's been a big 3-figure combo or that 70 that he took out, he's not given Luke Humphries a look in.
And what you've got to remember, of those 3 legs, 2 were against the darts. That's what makes those very special. If it had been 2 with the darts and 1 with a break, you go, yeah, you know, that can happen. But 2 breaks and 1 with throw, very special indeed against the type of players that are in this Premier League.
I am always going to be a fan of Zombie being belted out. Willie O'Connor, of course, as a challenger, had this, one of the best walk-ons in my opinion. This would be one of the best checkouts of this contest. Gerwyn Price, a 116 to add to the collection. My goodness, is he putting on an absolute clinic at the moment. He is 4 from 4 on the outer ring. A 170, a 120, a 116 and the 70. Quite the opposite to what we saw from Rob Cross in his quarter-final a little earlier on.
Does indeed, but Humphries comes back with a 180 there. Just to remind Price, I'm still here. Yes, we know you're having your purple patch in the game, but I'm not going to be fazed by this. I'm going to do my best to make you work even harder.
These performances right here are exactly why we've all been longing to see Gerwyn Price back at his blistering best, because he is box office.
The crowd are absolutely loving him here, and they are giving him a massive lift tonight.
100.
Luke Humphries down to 60. Gerwyn Price fighting, battling, goes to the 19s to try and get himself down to a finish. 2 treble 19s are found to leave himself on 156. If Humphries slips with his 2 darts and tops, he doesn't. So that's just a little reminder for Gerwyn Price that if there are any slip-ups in this one, I can be just as clinical as you, pal.
Yeah, it was rather nonchalantly thrown there, the 60, wasn't it? The 20 was very easy, and the doubles top looked even easier. So we're sat at 4-3 now, but Price has the darts, and more importantly, he will expect himself to go 5-3 here and feel a disaster if it doesn't go that way. That's how you feel as a player when you start the leg.
Yeah, it's not always been the highest scoring of semi-finals, or, you know, they've both missed a few at, oh well, Garrity hasn't, but Luke Humphries missed a couple at double, but it's just been so captivating. You know, you look at the stats, and this is why stats don't always tell you the entire story. They're in the mid-90s. It's felt like an absolute barnstormer.
I've always been a firm believer. I don't care whether an average is a match is a 78 average or 108 average. For me, if you don't know who is going to win and the outcome of that match, and you're halfway through, it makes the match exciting. It doesn't matter what the average is. You just want close games with players absolutely giving their heart in front of everybody.
Bullseye for Luke Humphries for a 1-2-9, and he's nowhere near, just indicating that he didn't like the way it came out of his hand, that dart. So Gerwyn Price, 88, gets the treble 18 for double 7, and he pins it again. This is relentless on the outer ring. He is 5 from 5, Gerwyn Price, and 1 away from a first final of 2025 in the Premier League.
This is special. That was smack bang centre of that double 7. It wasn't tucked up in a corner. It was where the goalie would stand. That was where it was.
Oh, and he's off again, starting the leg with a 180. Sumptuous stuff.
100.
You can tell by the look on his face, he feels like he's got this one in the palm of his hand. But I just want to pick up quickly, Scott. If you don't mind what the averages are, stick with me, kid. I'll tell you about the 28 average I once had.
Nice work.
Yep.
58.
I had one of them once. I'm pleased we've got something in common.
Yeah. Gerwyn Price down to a finish first again on the Humphries throw.
I will say I had a broken point on one dart and no flight on the other one. But yeah, love that. Price again, treble 19 here, doesn't go. Goes across to the 16s. He sat on 72, Humphries back on 188, so Price will come back for 72 to win this semi-final.
Gerwyn Price there in the background, just acknowledging the support he's getting from this crowd as he looks to wrap up the job. Bullseye to get the job done. He's not going to maintain his 100% record. Made a little bit of a mess of that, missed the big number, and as a result only got a dart at the bullseye. But he's going to come back. 25 the target.
All about the big 9 here. Or the big 1.
Yeah, he likes it over on this side of the board, and it is double 12 that is there for Gerwyn Price to see him through to the final on week 3. His finishing was absolutely sensational throughout that contest. He reeled in the big fish after he found himself 2-0 down. There was a 70 to follow that. The 120 Shanghai finish, a 116 in there as well. 6 out of 7 on the outer ring. Luke Humphries, well, he didn't do too much wrong in that department either. 50% checkout success for the world #1, but he goes down at 6-3. The first time in this year's Premier League that he will not be making it through to the final. A couple of points picked up again for him though, but Gerwyn Price will contest the week 3 final in Dublin, and we'll find out shortly with myself and Ian Danter whether it's Nathan Aspinall or Michael Van Gerwen who he'll be facing. When it comes to the Darts Premier League, the last thing you want is an online mishap throwing you off your game. Among the fastest VPNs available on the market, NordVPN gives you a quick location change when you need it the most. Go to nordvpn.com/dartsvpn and get 2 years plus 4 months free and a birthday deal. It's a risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee.